Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Marjorie. Today's video we are going to make this beautiful cow sunflower wreath. I got the sign along with the ribbon and the deco mesh from Craft Outlet. I've got these pipe cleaners I got off of Amazon and this 14-inch wireframe from the Dollar Tree. So I'm showing you here. These are the brackets, and in between them is the two inner and two outer rings of the wreath. And I'm sorry, my allergies are killing me today. So in the inner two rings, I'm going to place one pipe cleaner in the middle. And then while I'm doing this, I like to move my pipe cleaners out of the way. In the bottom two rings, I add two pipe cleaners. You can use hot glue or something to keep them in place if you want to, but I never do, just because once you get all the mesh on, it pretty much holds its shape or holds where it's supposed to go. You can move it around a little bit when you fluff if that's what you want to do. So there's 6 sections and each section gets 3 pipe cleaners, and so that is a total of 18 sections for this wreath. Oh, 18 pipe cleaners for this wreath. So now that I've made my work wreath, this is called a window pane mesh, and I really like working with these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the 9 pieces at 40 inches, just because I want to use the entire 2 rolls. I don't like to have little remnants left over. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the cruffle method. But before I do the cruffle method, I go ahead and I'm going to attach my cable mounts to the sign. And, excuse me. So here I'm just taking my little plastic things off to expose the adhesive, and then I just go ahead and place it down on the bottom and top of the sign. Now where you place your cable mounts is up to you, but I knew I was going to be putting it in the middle. So then I take my hot glue and I just run it all around the perimeter of the cable mount and make sure it's sealed in pretty good. So this is why I chose to do this first, is because I know that hot glue is going to need to cool down and stuff. So I take it where it curls up, the curling side is up, and I curl one end 3 times. It's not a full 3 times, so you'll see. I do 1, 2, 3. It's more like half turns maybe. I think it's more like 1 full and then maybe 2 halves. I'm not really sure. I just know I count to 3. So I'm just showing you the curls, and then here's the ruffle. Now what I like to do is I like to make sure to leave my curls natural. I don't do them tightly. I just do the natural lay that it does. And like that piece of deco mesh was so curly and wrapped up on itself because that was the end of the roll. So it gets tighter or more curls and stuff, like it's rolling up on itself here is what I'm trying to say. It does that more on the end pieces, or let me try to rephrase that. Not the end pieces, but the last pieces that are on the roll. So I'll always start on the outer ring. Now I like to do 1 section at a time. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. You can do all the outer rings first, all the inner rings first. It doesn't matter. But I think I like to do the one section at a time is because it lets me see just how full it is. I mean, that is pretty full. And I know I'm speeding this up for you guys, but that's just 4 pieces. And it does. It covers a lot. It makes for a nice full wreath. And that's 2 sections that are full. So it's very pretty. And so now that we went ahead and did the rest of it off camera, I also cut my ribbons at 14 inches off camera, and I went ahead and dovetailed them. So in one of my videos that I recently uploaded, the tails kept getting in the way, so I started, what I started doing with my tails is cutting all the tails first, making the different sets, folding them in half, and that way it was already kind of easy and ready for me to go. And so that's what I did with these. Just fold it in half, and it's easy to just take and open it up and just kind of walk your fingers through it, and in the midway, that way you just know where the halfway point is and how to attach it to your wreath frame. Now, I thought these ribbons were so cute. That sign of the cow and the sunflowers was so stinking adorable that I just knew I had to do a wreath with that. And these ribbon tails are just absolutely adorable for this. So while I do have 18 pipe cleaners, I only cut, I believe, 16 sets of ribbon. I always make sure I do a full set at the bottom, meaning since there's 12 pipe cleaners at the bottom, I add a set of ribbon to those pipe cleaners. And then knowing that knowing the placement of my sign, and how big it is, along with how big the bow may be, determines if I do 2 or 4 sets for the inner rings. But I think I went ahead and did 4 sets, so a total of 16 sets of ribbon, because the sign is a little on the small side. I want to say it's maybe 9.5 inches, somewhere like that. You'll have to forgive me if I'm wrong. Maybe 10. But it's not as large as some of the other signs that not as large as the other round signs that I typically work with. Now, I have gotten some signs from Temu, and they're super adorable, but they're like the 8-inch ones, so you're really not getting, in my opinion, your bang for the buck. Because it's still a little over $3 on Temu, and you're getting like an 8-inch. But it just depends too, and I think it's like the MDF boards that you get, whereas this is a waterproof, weatherproof sign, so it is good for any occasion. So here I am just cutting off some of those, because I know the bow is going to go right there in that piece that I just cut off. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some more of the ribbon tails. Now, I go ahead and I cut these off and then I push them down. If you want, you can fold them over. Like if you're doing it for just you, you could definitely just leave the pipe cleaner whole and just roll it down. That way, if you want to change it out and you don't want to get a new wreath frame, you could just use the same wreath frame over and over again with the pipe cleaners. Absolutely up to you. And this is where I think I realized I needed excuse me, one or two more sets, and so I'm having to cut those. But this is me cutting the 14-inch tails, and here I'm going to dovetail it. I line them up, and from the curved end, the folded end on up is how I cut it, and you get your pretty little dovetails. And then, so this is how I was folding them when I was talking earlier about making the sets. And then it gives you that little crease that you can utilize as your, to know that that's your center part. So, as you can see in the, I have 3 additional tail sets. So that's 15 total right there, including the 12 around the lower portion of the, or the outer portion of the wreath frame. So right now I'm just gonna get my little bow maker, and we are going to make a sweet little bow to go on this wreath. I got my bow maker at Deco Exchange, so you can head over there. They've got a lot of nice products that you can go ahead and purchase things from. But I got this bow maker, and I think it was like about 20 bucks, and it's by far one of the best crafting tools I've purchased. Now I've got this big mat my husband just bought me, and I absolutely love it. I mean, we are, he bought it for me as a surprise, and I thank him so much. What I was doing is just counting 14 inches. So my tails going down are going to be 14 inches, and then my initial loops are going to be 6 inches, and then the tails that go to the top, and you'll see here in a minute, those are at 8 inches. Again, I've mentioned this many times. Always leave your tails a little bit longer. That way, if you need to trim them down, then you can. But if you don't need to trim them down, then you don't have to. You can leave them at the 8. I do find that as I'm fluffing my bows that I do go ahead and cut some of those down. It just depends on where it falls. Like, especially if it's covering up any of the sign or something like that, then I like to be able to trim my tails. But when I do the 14-inch long tails, I normally don't trim those. It's just like the 8-inch tails that I'm trimming down. Now, I really love this gingham 1.5-inch ribbon from Craft Outlet. The only thing is just it's a little flimsy. It's not as stiff as I like them to be, but I still really like it, and it turns out really pretty with this combination. Now you'll see on my spool I have that $6.75. I put those on my my products because so I'll know how much to charge. I am so sorry. My little dog is barking. He barks at anything. Any little sound, somebody across the street, walking down the street. He's a little Yorkie, and Boy, he thinks he is 6 feet tall. But he barks more than our big dog. It's funny. But anyways, I just did one set of ribbon layers with the 3 different ribbons, and now I'm doing this other set. So the first set I put 2 loops and 2 tails, and this set is going to be my last set. I'm actually putting the 2 tails and 2 loops on each side, so a total of 4 loops. However you decide to do your loops, if you want to do 4 loops at the bottom, 2 loops at the top, is completely up to you. I honestly never know how I'm going to do it until I just start doing it. Then I'm like, okay. Part of it is because I don't know how much of my ribbon I have left over, and you would think I'd be a little better at it because I've been wreathing for so long, but unfortunately, no. I always like to make sure, things try to fall in place like they should. Now with this one, because it's the 1.5 inch and it's my top, I do make a small little loop. That will be my centerpiece, and then I go ahead and excuse me, cut off my 14-inch tail. Now if you want, you could put a long zip tie at the bottom, but I'm just going to use some pipe cleaner, or a pipe cleaner. Now what you want to do is make sure when you're putting your pipe cleaner on that you smush that those ribbons together, and you make it as tight as possible. I do the first twist with my hand, and then I just twist the rest of it with the bow. To me, that just kind of helps keep it tight, because I keep that tight pinch on the pipe cleaner as I'm rotating the bow to make it better, make it on there securely. And as always, I always do a slant cut, but you could do whatever you want on the 1.5 inch. I don't know why, I just prefer it that way. So I'm trying to cut everything, clean it all up before I put it on my wreath. But you don't have to. You could attach it to the wreath, fluff it, cut it, do all that stuff if that's what you want to do. Sometimes it's a little easier this way. That way I'm not getting it mixed in with all the other ribbon tails, and I make sure that I catch all the tails that need to be trimmed. So I'm just going to weed those pipe cleaner ends through some of the deco mesh and attach it to the wreath frame. So now that I've got that tightened, I just go ahead and bring all my tails to the front, and then I'm going to just fluff it out. Fluff all the tails and loops and arrange it the way I want it to. And so yeah, there's a lot of twisting and turning and fluffing and curling. Because on the on the tails, I do like to curl it with my hand like I'm doing now. That just kind of helps it bring it up to the front a little bit more, make it kind of poofy like one of the loops or something. I do want to thank you guys for stopping by, supporting my channel. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I really hope you like this wreath. It is such... Sorry, my dog started barking again. Anyways, I just hope you really like this, and just follow me for more videos. I do a lot of wreaths, mainly wreaths, but I do also do other crafts as well from time to time. So once again, thank you for stopping by. I hope you like this project, and you guys have a very blessed week.